Hey guys, and welcome to Ozzie Reviews. Welcome to this month's Q&A. So let's start off with what's been happening here at Ozzie Reviews for the month of July. So a heap of things have been happening. The biggest thing for me is obviously my new dog Hank. He's been settling in well here on the farm, and I've just been having a ball with him. Not getting a lot done that I should be getting done, but you know, he's just of that age where he requires a lot of attention and training. So that's going really well. He's just such a great little guy to be around, you know, just a really happy, well-natured pup, and yeah, just really smart, you know, really learning different tricks and just learning just the routine here on the farm. Just a really good dog in general. So, you know, I'm very, very happy with him. If you haven't seen the video that I released there only about a week ago on him, have a look at it, you know, because, you know, I give you a little bit of an intro to him and what he has liked doing in the last couple of weeks since being on the farm. So, you know, check that out. Also too, guys, I've come up with an idea. Now, this has been in the works for years. Like, I'm talking, you know, 5 or more years ago, I originally floated this idea with a couple of people, and they said, yeah, definitely go for it. But, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, you put things on the back burner for some time and then you think, okay, I'll finally get round to that. So I've decided what I'll do, guys, is start the firearm owners like shooting directory, okay? So, or a business directory that's owned by firearm owners, so that other licensed firearm owners or just members of the public in general, you know, can go to them and they know that they're supporting a licensed firearm owner. So what I'd like, guys, is people to make submissions to me. Obviously send it in via email to aussiereviews@gmail.com. And, you know, I want it in the following format. So obviously the business name, your ABN, the location, so it can be just, you know, Brisbane, Queensland 4001, you know, a phone number, website, email, whatever your contact details are there, and obviously the type of business you have. So it's not limited to, honestly, just not limited to shooting or anything like that. I mean, you could be in earthworks or graphic design, or, you know, have a cleaning business or anything like that. Or any of the trades, you know. So if you're you know, a carpenter or a painter or electrician, you know, what it's designed to do is have a directory where people can go, obviously, to my website, aussiereviews.com, and then look up the business directory and see all these different services, you know, from licensed shooters, okay? So even if you're a gun shop or in feral pest control or normal pest control, you know, you're welcome to send an email to me. The only catch is, okay, it's completely free. The only catch is that I ask that anyone who wants to advertise there offers a discount to Ozzie Reviews followers, okay? So anybody who contacts you and mentions the Ozzie Reviews business directory, you offer them a discount. So the minimum discount is 5%, and it can go up to whatever you want, okay? So, you know, a lot of people already have come in at about that 10%. So if you want to offer a 10% discount, that's fine. If you only want to offer a 5% discount, that's also fine as well. But I came up with the idea because, honestly, I'd like to know that if possible, I could swing my money towards other licensed shooters and help build and grow the licensed shooting community. I've always tried to do that since day one, as you guys know. So yeah, by all means, guys, if you want to be a part of that, like I said, send it to me in that format, and email me at aussiereviews@gmail.com, and you know, stay tuned, because obviously I'll process it all and we'll get it up and running if there's enough interest. Okay, so what else has been happening? We've also had a fairly good response to the caliber reviews that I've been doing in the recent sort of month or two. So, you know, they're pretty much a no-frills review. All it is just showing you the ammunition of that particular caliber. So we just show you the cartridge in general, talk about obviously my pros and cons with that particular caliber from my own use of it in the field. So, you know, it just gives people who are basically beginners, or even people who haven't used a particular caliber and are looking at it, it gives them an idea of some of the pros and cons and the expectations, of that caliber out in the field, whether it be target shooting or hunting or whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, they're pretty popular. I'm going to continue with them. I've had a lot of questions about that, and yes guys, I'm going to cover like 22 Magnum and 17 HMR and 308 and 270 and 300 Win Mag, all those calibers I want to be able to cover in that series. So that's under the Beginner Basics series on YouTube, so please check it out, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it as well. Also too, on the review side of things guys, I went to a private approved range on a rural property there recently, where I was able to film some reviews of a couple of handguns. So I know you guys like the handguns, and I do try to do as much of it as I can. I know it's not as popular as what the rifle reviews are, but I still try to do a good handful of pistol reviews as applicable to sports shooters here in Australia. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be trickling out over the next month. And obviously we've got other reviews as well. I've done a couple of long range reviews there, so I try to keep the variety as best as possible, put it that way. So that's pretty much everything that's been happening guys. So yeah, keep an eye out on the channel. There's heaps of stuff coming up. So let's jump into the questions now. First question I got here is from Matt, and he says, "Hey Ozzie, what's your thoughts on the Begara B14 rifles? I'm tossing up between one of them or a Weatherby Vanguard and 30-06 at 300 Win Mag for Samba deer. Any chance of a review?" Look, you're probably the second or third person that has asked me about that, Matt. So yeah, it's like anything, mate. There's just so many products to review. But if I'm given the opportunity to review one of the Begara B14s, I will definitely do it, because as I say, there's been a couple of requests for it now, and I'm definitely keen to do it. Next question I got here is from Steve, and he says, Eotech holographic sights. Have you had any experience with them? Thinking of putting one on my Warwick Arms WFA1. Okay, yes, I have had quite a bit of experience with them, Steve. My thoughts on them in general is I don't particularly like them. That's just my personal view. If you remember, it was in a lot of the shooting news there a couple of years ago that Eotech had some major problems with thermal drift. And what they meant by that was, if you go from one temperature extreme to another, the actual, your point of impact would actually change with that sight, okay? So, it could be out by, several inches at like 100 yards. So, and that's obviously not taking into consideration changes with obviously rifles and how they shoot in temperatures. This was just simply on the movement of that sight, or what they call thermal drift, with those temperature changes. So there was a problem with that. Obviously there's a heap you can read up on that and have a look for yourself, but I believe they've sorted those issues out now. However, one thing that I have found myself, and I've had a couple of Eotech sights, and look, I'm not a fan of them. One of the things that I found the most frustrating with them was what I call the rubber band effect, okay? So what I mean by that is, say you're wanting to adjust the elevation or the windage, and you're shooting at 100 there, and you move like 1 or 2 clicks or 3 clicks, and then nothing happens, nothing seems to move on that reticle. Then all of a sudden you go to 4 or 5 clicks, and all those previous clicks seem to have caught up, like a rubber band effect. So, and I've seen it personally with those sights up to like, 10 odd clicks where there's no movement, and then all of a sudden, bang, those previous 10 clicks, when you go to the 11th click, will catch up and throw it right out. So that really turned me off. That's only my own personal experience with it. I'm not saying you're going to have that with any of the ones that you buy, but mate, that's my personal experience with them. So I'm not going to buy one again myself. I'm not. I much prefer aim point. I much prefer a red dot, because I find that the red dot comes up to the eye so much easier and clearer for that fast sight acquisition. So my preference personally would definitely be aim point. Next question I got here is from John. He says, "Hi Ozzie, just interested in what you thought of the recent Eden-Monaro by-election in New South Wales. Labor won after preferences by 0.4%. The Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party won 5.3%. And preference Labor. There's no doubt this controlled the result. I've seen much coverage on this and was wondering what you think should be done so the major parties, both Labor and the Coalition, get the message not to ignore us. And if they do, they risk losing the marginal seats that you need to form a majority government. Okay, so I've got several thoughts on that, mate. Number one, it disappoints me, as I posted about on Facebook, when you have a party preferencing one of the majors like that. Okay, now before anyone starts going off and carrying on saying, oh, you control where your preferences go and all the rest of it, absolutely, I fully understand that. However, when a party gives out a example on their how to vote card and then they're preferencing Labor as second, how many people do you think that are going to go into that polling booth and just follow the how to vote card from their favourite party? So whether it be the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers or any other party, usually people will just follow their example there. So that's where I understand people get upset about saying, well, why are they preferencing Labor? Even though in reality you control your own preferences. So, I understand both sides of the coin there. Now, what I also understand as well is, when you vote for a minor party, you are taking away funding per vote that's going to that major party, So my, I guess, idea on the whole situation is make sure you vote for those minor parties, and I've said it numerous times before. I don't care whether it's One Nation, I don't care whether it's Katter Party or Liberal Democrats, Shooters, Fishers and Farmers, or even an independent. Give them the vote before you go to the ALP or the LNP in your electorate. And why? Because it'll send a very clear message. Now, another thing you can do, like a lot of people say, oh, my electorate, Aussie, I've only got the ALP, the LNP and the Greens, I'm pretty much screwed. Okay, well, in that case, go to each of those representatives and find out their stance on firearms. I'm pretty sure the Greens candidate will be very anti. They'd probably be your last preference. However, perhaps the LNP person is in a better position and has a better view on firearms than what the ALP person does. So obviously you'll vote for the LNP person as your number one preferred candidate. So it's not that hard. Or if you've got the three majors or two majors and the Greens, some people class them as a major. So if you've got the majors there and you've also got an independent, pick up the phone, send an email, talk to that independent and ask them about their views on firearms and say, look, this is very much going to influence how I vote. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on firearms. So you might find that you've got an independent who is just a licensed shooter themselves, and they want to go into politics for other reasons than shooting, but shooting is something that they can definitely comment on as a licensed shooter. So, don't stop at just writing the party off. That's what I'm saying. Like, speak to the candidate, because, you even have members, or we have one or two members of the LNP cross the floor and vote against all the restrictions with the like the lever action shotgun reclassification, I believe, or it was something along the lines of that there a couple of years ago. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it has happened before. So if you've got someone who's in the LNP who's very supportive and will stand against firearm restrictions, by all means, give them a preference if you've only got the LNP, the ALP or the Greens in your electorate. It's as simple as that. But if you do have One Nation, or you do have the LDP or Shooters and Fishers Party, give them your preference as number one, because it takes away that funding from the majors and gives it to those smaller parties who can actually be a voice for shooters. Okay, so John, at the end of the day, that's my thoughts on it. It disappoints me, but I also understand political survival as well. And I'm pretty confident that, the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party have obviously preferenced them on their how to vote card, for help in return, perhaps with some of their bills before Parliament. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. Next question I got here is from Blake, and he says, G'day Aussie, I'm getting into reloading and was wondering if you had any do's and don'ts, tricks or common beginner mistakes. Well, mate, it's been ages since I've reloaded, and the reason is because I find the accuracy and price of factory ammunition these days with rifles I use is more acceptable for my needs, so I don't really find the need to have to reload. However, in saying that, reloading obviously takes time, so if you've got the time to do it and you want to just have the fun and experiment with different loads, it can be just a really good thing. So in saying that, mate, get yourself a good reloading manual. So like Sierra reloading manual was the one that I used to always use, and it'll give you different powders in there, and it'll also tell you, your feet per second that you can achieve with certain loads. The one thing that I used to find great about the Sierra reloading manual was that it'd give you your minimum load like any other reloading manual would, but it would also give you your accuracy load as well. So, you can start at your minimum load. Don't ever start at the max, okay? Always start at the minimum load, and then just trial and error. Go to the range, see how that shoots for you, or if you're on, your own rural land, by all means, get out the back and shoot a handful of those hand loads, and then obviously move up until you experiment and you find out which one is the most accurate combination for you. As for brands, look, always, I stuck with things like, Dillon and Redding. So if you want to get some really good dies, Redding, they were always number one back then. And, the Dillon presses are really good. Look, I've got friends with presses from Hornady, RCBS, and, look, they've had no problems whatsoever. But yeah, if you start getting into, like, obviously the different scales, make sure you get a quality one, okay, because you want to be very accurate when you're measuring, obviously that powder load. So there's a real art to it, mate. And look, I would say my knowledge on it is only average, to be honest, because, as I said, it's been a long time since I've reloaded because I don't feel the need personally. But yeah, make sure you just follow the rules and the guidelines that are set out in those reloading manuals, and obviously measure your powder correctly, okay? Because that's your only real mistake, okay? You put too much in it, then obviously you can have catastrophic results. So yeah, stick to the guidelines and you'll be fine. Next question I got here is from Steve, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, thoughts and possibilities of a Sulun Arms TAC-12 Australia shotgun review, as it's supposed to be the Benelli M4 but in a straight pull version. It would be cool to do a side-by-side rundown." Well, mate, it was months ago I was actually offered one of these shotguns from the importer. They said, "Oh, look, we'll send you one. It's yours. Just do a review. Are you interested?" And I said, "Look, I'm not. Sorry. Thanks all the same." The reason why I'm not is because virtually all of these straight pull Turkish shotguns are the same. Like honestly, guys, I'll go out there and say it now. They are honestly the same. They apart from, say, like cosmetic looks, they honestly pretty much shoot the same. Obviously they cycle the same. They seem to be the same feel of quality because they're all around that same price point. All it is just little changes here and there, but they are pretty much the same. So I guess I just don't want to go down the path of just doing a heap of, Turkish straight pull shotgun reviews. So, and yeah, to be quite honest, I wasn't that keen on a straight pull Benelli M4 knockoff. I know a lot of guys may really be into that, but yeah, mate, I just wasn't interested. So that's why I declined the offer. Next question I got here is from Dimitri. He says, "Hi Ozzie, I'm just about to buy my first rifle and get started. Mostly just range shooting for now. $2,000 is the budget. What would you recommend between the Lithgow LA102 223 with a cheap scope to stay below $2,000, or a Howa Mini Action 223 with a better quality scope?" Okay, mate, I would go for the Lithgow. I mean, they're just a better build and a lot better quality when you're comparing it to the Howa. The Howa obviously is a little bit, cheaper naturally, but the Lithgow in general is just that more high-end quality that's gone into the rifle in my view. So for me, I mean, people know this, I just would not buy a Chinese or Filipino made rifle scope and put it on my rifle. I just wouldn't insult the rifle by doing that. That's just me personally, that's how I feel about it. So for me, I always have, like if I'm going to get a scope that's Asian made, Japan is always the benchmark. And then I'll go from there, okay? I do like the loophole range, made in the USA. yeah, I've had absolutely no problems with them, and they've got a range to suit every budget. So in other words, for this, you know, if you want to keep to a cheaper scope around about that $400 mark, have a look at the Leupold VX Freedom. But, you know, if you can stretch it out and fit it within the budget, go up to the Leupold VX3i. You know, very, very clear, very nice scope indeed. So, you know, for your budget, mate, they would be the two options I'd look at. You know, you can look at Trijicon. I mean, they're made in Japan, but look, they're pretty exy actually. So, you know, that'll be the other choice around about that budget level. But yeah, bottom line is, mate, you know, you're paying good money for a good rifle. You don't want to have your optics let you down. Next question I got here is from Hugh. He says, "Hi Ozzie, great reviews and social comments. Please keep up the good work. Your advice: I have a 98 Mauser and 7.62. It's been my heavy game rifle for what seems like forever, and now it's time to replace it. I'm considering the Lithgow LA102 or LA105 in 308. Your opinion on which would be the most suitable for game and some range work?" Mate, straight away the LA102 would be my preference because the LA105 is a dedicated long range system. It's as simple as that. So if you're at the range all the time, yeah, by all means, you know, go the LA105. But it's also about 1.5 kilos heavier than the LA102. So that's why I say, you know, go for the LA102 because, you know, if you're going to be doing hunting and some range work, the LA102 is brilliant for both. You know, I think I proved it when I did the LA102 and 308 review many years ago. I mean, you know, I took that right out to over 1,000 yards there and just with a 3-9 scope on it. And, you know, here I am obviously compensating at that distance because we'd run out of elevation. And it just showed the accuracy of that rifle. I mean, the accuracy in that rifle will be more than suitable for 99% of shooters here in Australia, honestly. You know, I found it fantastic with factory ammunition. As I say, it's about 1.5 kilos lighter than the LA105, so getting out in a hunting scenario, it's a lot better to be carting that around than trying to cart around the LA105. You know, if you were just lying prone, you know, waiting for pigs to come into a dam or something like that, I mean, look, the LA105, yeah, you could use it, but honestly, you'd be better off with the LA102. So that's definitely my choice. Next question I got here is from Andrew, and he says, "Hi Ozzie, I usually watch all of your content together with my dad, who is also an avid hunter and pistol shooter. He asked me to write to you to ask some questions for him. Since the mid-1970s, he's owned a Seiko rifle, topped with a colourless 8x56 scope, featuring a heavy barrel and chambered in 1.7 Remington. It was certainly a hell of a fox slayer when spotlighting. As he would sell the pelts, he often remarked how he could rarely, if ever, find any sort of entry or exit hole. However, once the greenies effectively ended the fur trade overnight, the 1.7 Remington has fallen by the wayside. Factory ammunition is extremely difficult to find and is very expensive, as is brass. It seems demand has all but completely collapsed for what was such a fantastic caliber. I'd like to know your opinion on the efficiency of the 1.7 Remington as a fox rifle. Secondly, what do you think is a suitable centerfire caliber that would be much cheaper to run, yet still with similar ballistics to the 1.7 Remington? Thank you very much, Ozzie, Andy and Tony." Well, mate, thanks for your question. This is a good question. I find these interesting. You know, the 1.7 Remington definitely is a fantastic caliber. There is two negatives that I've found with it. One is your barrel life, because it's pushing, you know, most rounds between sort of around that 4,200 to 4,800 feet a second. I mean, it is absolutely screaming. And obviously what goes with that? Noise. You know, they are extremely loud because they are just going so damn fast. So, and then not to mention, obviously, as you said here, mate, you know, the price of the ammo and trying to find ammo or shells here in Australia have become, you know, very, very difficult. So I've got two thoughts on it. You know, if you're just looking at obviously shooting foxes, but you want a good caliber to do that, obviously you're not selling the pelts. So, you know, are you really worried about the pelts? So where I'm going with this is, you know, you could just jump straight into a 223 and, you know, it's going to knock foxes around all day long, you know, no problem whatsoever. But I thought I'd just mention it here to keep it, to similar type ballistics and everything to the 1.7. There's another two options that I'd look at personally, and that'd be the 1.7 Hornet. Now the 1.7 Hornet, you're looking at about for a 20 grain pill about 3,650 feet a second, as opposed to 4,200 feet a second for the 1.7 Remington. So it is moving a little bit slower, but in reality, out at 300 yards, you're only going to be dropping 2 inches more with the 1.7 Hornet over the 1.7 Remington. So what you'll find also too is, you can get the ammunition, well, a lot cheaper and a lot more available here in Australia than what the 1.7 Remington is. So that's something for you to look at there as well, okay? The other way that I'd possibly go as well, if you want to go to it, is 204 Ruger. Now, when it comes to 204 Ruger versus 223, I've always preferred the 223 because of the sheer variety of ammunition you can get, okay? Everything from 40 grains right through to 75 grain factory ammunition. So the 223 gives you a much wider scope of things that you can hunt. But being specifically, for a Fox caliber and something that you want very similar to the 1.7 Remington, I'd be looking also at the 204 Ruger because, with that you can push a 32 grain pill at around about that 4,200 feet a second as well. So, absolutely devastational on Foxes, and, it'll be well suited to your needs. As for ammo, look, you're looking at paying twice the price as what you are for 223 ammo for a 204, depending on obviously the brand and the bullet weight and everything you're going for. So, but that's something else to take into consideration. So on a budget, mate, if I was looking at it from that way, I'd probably just go 223 and, just simply use 50 or 55 grain projectiles, from different factory loads with that. But if you want something that's a little bit Gucci, a little bit different, look at the 1.7 Hornet, as I say, or go to the 204 Ruger. My preference on both of them would probably be going 204, and the only reason that I steer away from 1.7 now is after having owned 1.7 rifles, like I am just sick to death of bending cleaning rods when you're trying to patch them out, because obviously that diameter is just so thin, where obviously you've got a little bit more stability, I find, with 204. So yeah, take all that into consideration, mate, but please let me know because I'd be very interested to hear which way you go with this. Next question I got here is from Rowan. He says, "Hi Ozzie, what experience have you had with oil/silicone gun socks for firearm storage? I've just bought one and I've heard mixed reports about them. Some say they tend to attract moisture in the gun safe rather than repelling it. What's your thoughts on this, and would you review one in the future?" Well, mate, probably not. I probably wouldn't review one in the future because I guess my method is just old-fashioned. After I use firearms, I make sure I patch everything out, clean them up, and also put a nice layer there of G96 over the firearm, and that just protects it, whether I'm storing it for a month or 6 months or more, it just sits in the gun safe, it's fine. And I'm here in Queensland where we've got, very high humidity. So if you're really that concerned about it, you can actually buy a dehumidifier for your gun safe, to go that extra step. So that'd probably be my other choice, if you were that worried about it. Gun socks, mate, I just find them a pain. I want to be able to go to the gun safe and just simply pull a firearm out, take it out and be able to use it. I don't want to have to be pulling it out of a gun sock. So that's just me personally though, keep that in mind. So no, mate, I probably wouldn't review one because I just use the old fashioned method, and that's just make sure that your firearms are clean and looked after. All right, guys, so that concludes this month's Q&A. As I've said before, if you want to be a part of the Q&A, you must be a supporter via Patreon. So thanks to everyone who's submitted this month's questions, and we'll catch you on the next episode.